Welcome to another episode of Bare Truth, tape review by Danny Shimon. He is the man to my left, your screen right. Danny, how are you?
I am doing well tonight, although I didn't think I'd recover from what I watched Sunday. But time heals all wounds apparently. But I was I was very very upset. I was telling you, if I was on a post game show, you'd have to bleep out most of my segment because I was going to be cussing up a storm. I was furious. I was disgusted. That was a ridiculous game to sit there and watch offensively. But like I said, went over the tape now. I'm a little more calm here. Saw some of the flaws. Saw some positives that we're going to actually break down, believe it or not. But yes, it's something that it's a game that you were actually there and experienced live in person. I had the pleasure of being able to change a channel or turn off my TV. You and sit there throughout the whole massacre.
Yeah, it was one of, I ain't going to lie on this bare truth, that it was one of the worst defeats I've seen in my 50 years of watching football for Chicago Bears. And there have been a lot of really bad games. And as you said before we went live, we were still in it.
Right.
Late
it felt like the Browns. Go ahead. Finish your statement.
You're right to interrupt me because it felt like the Browns were dominating the entire game, but late in the game we still had a chance.
Right, it's a one-score game beginning of the fourth quarter, and it just felt like the Bears had no chance in the game. They're being totally dominated, totally outplayed, but yet the defense kept them in it for most part. And then obviously once then that fourth quarter rolled around, and then that Kareem Hunt touchdown where. Again, our safeties were unable to secure a tackle, both Deion Bush at the line of scrimmage and then Eddie Jackson down the field. And I think that didn't open up the floodgates, and that's when the Browns then just took over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like this was not just a coaching breakdown, but in looking at the tape, the clips that you've provided, some other ones that I've seen, this was everybody screwed up, and that includes Justin Fields. He made a lot of rookie mistakes. There were a lot of player errors, especially on the offense. The defense, for the most part, played a solid game until some of those defects later in the game. But yeah, you can point the finger at just about anybody on this roster, and they have to take accountability for it.
Right. For me, it looked like it was communication issues. Again, we've seen some communication issues in every single game so far this season. There are issues in terms of execution. It was just players missing assignments, some confusing stuff in terms of pass protection, in terms of how they're attacking the Browns defense. It's just offensively the whole game plan was. It looked like Matt Nagy and his coaching staff drew up a game plan for Andy Dalton, or Justin Fields, or Nick Foles. It didn't matter who was in there. This was what they were going to play. It doesn't matter what the skill set was of that player, what their strengths or what their weaknesses were. This was their game plan. Any one of these three quarterbacks could have been put in there, and this is how they're supposed to run it. Because I tweeted during the game, you have a dynamic dual threat quarterback, but you're not utilizing him. You're just keeping him in the pocket. And he's a rookie, and he's a guy that's going to make rookie mistakes, right? So, utilize his strengths, get him outside the pocket, get him where he's more comfortable. Not necessarily just, tuck and run the ball, get him out there and make it a half field read for him. Just get him comfortable, get him into the rhythm of the game, and then we'll see what happens. And we'll break down some of Justin Fields' mistakes as well, but he was off his game as well. There are times where he can get rid of the football and gotten positive plays, positive yards out of the completion, but he kept the ball, held it, took a sack, and just something was off. Whether it's him and his comfort level with his receivers. Remember, up until last week, he was running scout team, so he maybe doesn't have that timing down with his receivers. But there was times he missed open receivers downfield. Did the pressure finally get to him? And again, he's a guy that I touted coming out of college as a cool, calm, demeanor. He's a cool cat. The guy doesn't seem to get rattled at all. And at least he didn't seem to be rattled when you would clip, they would show him on TV on the sidelines. It looked like he was just kind of taking it all in and just kind of taking on the coaching on the sideline, all that stuff. But there were times, and we'll get into it in the film here, where I see him missing open receivers, not going through a progression, or just not just pulling a trigger on a throw that he could have and should have made.
Got to tell you, the press conference of every week that I'm definitely going to tune into from now on is the Bill Lazor
Laser.
Offensive
Yep.
Coordinator Conference. Last week, a couple of weeks ago, the last 2 weeks, they've been excellent. And today, on Thursday, he met with the press and provided more candid answers than Matt Nagy has done all season in the multiple press conferences that he's met with the media. I want to, before we delve into your tape analysis, I want to play a soundbite of him talking about practice, that sometimes practices don't go well, unlike what we hear from
Right.
Matt Nagy. Listen
Right.
to this.
So we tried to be specific. Okay, last week in practice, some of these things happened. How did it translate to the game? And so just make a connection for the players and the coaches, for everyone. Because some of it, too, is one of the hardest jobs in an NFL team is to get the team that's giving you a look on defense to give you the look that you're going to see on Sunday. We do our best to pick what we think is going to happen. They can choose to call whatever defense they want. But, hey, their safety doesn't quite play it like ours. So we need you on this play to lean this way or double A Rob or do whatever. And getting guys to do it. So part of it, we took that also responsibility on ourselves as coaches about, okay, on practice, this is what happened last week. Did it or did it not translate right into the game? And I think the players expect you also to put responsibility on them. We call this play in practice. This was the front you got. We expected, because you saw it and you were prepared for it, that you would get it done. So I think they appreciate when you share responsibility, because that's the truth, and as coaches you take pride in it. But to answer your question, I didn't think of it as a general statement, because everywhere can say you should prepare better. We try to do more specifics, and then hopefully everyone sees that and then go forward concretely, put emphasis on each play, and do better going forward.
I love his detailed response to that question. Every play, every player has to take personal responsibility, and so do the coaches.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, because that's exactly, he laid it out the way typically I've seen it happen at practices. Right, you give the offense during practice a formation, a possible defense that your opponent is going to play in that game. Again, like he said, they could call a different defensive front, they can call a different type of alignment, they can kind of disguise some of their stuff, but for the most part, you kind of get a gist of what's going to happen. You should know your role, how to execute your plays, so on and so forth. So that is all coaching. That is preparing your team to play. This past Sunday, it looked like the offense had not been coached at all. In my opinion, in terms of the routes they're running, in terms of the blocking assignments, who was going to pick up who, from everything. So it was just a total disaster, a total breakdown on offense. After that first drive, where once the Bears defense forced that turnover on downs, they took the ball and scored that field goal. It was downhill from there for the Bears on offense.
It was. Well, but let's start with some good news, right, Danny?
Yep.
We've actually got 3 segments to the show, and Danny wants to start with all of the good, not all of it, but wants to highlight the good defensive line play in this game. Is that right, Danny?
Well, yeah. I mean, there was some positive out of this, and for me at least, and listeners, and Aldo, you guys chime in here as well. I think the Bears have rediscovered their pass rush. I think this is something that obviously we had not seen the last couple seasons under Chuck Pagano. I think Sean Desai has done some nice things, the last couple of weeks at least that I've seen with the stunts, with the loops. And one thing that he's done really well, and that I wish he continues, and he is lining up Khalil Mack and Robert Quinn next to each other. And I think Robert Quinn is a big reason why the Bears pass rush is as successful as it is so far this season. I think this is the player the Bears had hoped they were signing 2 off seasons ago. This is the guy I think maybe might be finally healthy. His second season with the club, maybe he's just more of a comfort level now with him. And the one thing that we'll show here as well in some of these clips is something, Aldo, that you've pointed out, is Robert Quinn is more comfortable with his hand in the ground, rushing as a true defensive end. And a lot of these plays here, you're going to see him rushing as a true defensive end with his hand in the ground. So if you want to go ahead and roll that first clip. Here it's the first quarter. It's 4th and 5. This is where the Browns are going for it.
So those 2 players that I highlighted were Robert Quinn on the right side and Angelo Blackson on the left side, because he gets like a half a sack, or he was responsible. But take it over from here, brother.
Right. But the one thing, look who's next to Robert Quinn. That's Khalil Mack. And this is what, if we run the play, you're going to see 3 offensive linemen, 3 Cleveland Browns on that left side draw attention to Khalil Mack. And that gives Robert Quinn, with his, his credit for now, to his credit, his get off is back. His first step quickness off the line of scrimmage is back for me. I see it now when I watch his film here. But look at the attention that Mack draws, guys. He draws 3 guys, 3 offensive blockers, and then lets Quinn go free. And it gets to the quarterback, and then all of a sudden he rolls him over, and then Blackson comes in. Blackson also, who's been playing very well, in my opinion, as well, comes in and cleans up, and they both share that sack. But it's Mack and Quinn on the same side, drawing the attention of 3 blockers on Mack, and then Quinn coming free up the rushing to the quarterback, getting to him, and then Blackson helping him clean it up there. But again, those 2 guys are the same side. Quinn's ability to get off the line of scrimmage now with his first step quickness and just being able to finish now. He's got 3.5 sacks already, leads the team in sacks through 3 games. So I think Robert Quinn is a big reason why this pass rush is back again, guys.
Now, I did want to point out the fact that the left tackle, Jedrick Wills, good player out of Alabama. I think he was a 2nd-round draft pick. His get off here against Quinn, he clearly was confused, because look at this.
Right.
He just
right. And then because the center and the guard point at Mack, and then he's just confused. So he just doesn't even get off at all. Doesn't even touch Robert Quinn. So again, that to me is just the side doing a nice job of getting those 2 guys next to each other and allowing them to play off of each other, whether they're running stunts and loops, tackle end games, all that stuff. This time there's a straight pass rush, but again, Mack drawing those 3 guys. Khalil Mack, past couple of years has been getting criticized for the lack of sacks, the lack of tackles, for loss. But this is just goes to show you the type of attention he draws. And he had 2 sacks in this game as well, so he's got 3 on the season. But this is the type of attention Mack draws consistently on tape. When you go back and watch these guys, the offensive linemen have to always know where he's at. They have to point him out. You see the center and the guard there pointing at Mack. That then gets Jedrick Wills' attention, confuses him. So at the snap, what happens? He just totally blows his assignment, allows Quinn to go right by him. And on a big 4th and 5 there's a stop, the ball turnover to the Bears.
Now, you mentioned Khalil Mack, and the next play is about Khalil Mack. But before we play that, I want you to hear, and everyone else to hear, Sean Desai talking about Khalil.
Yeah, I think he impacts the game anyways, any time he's on the field. I wouldn't say relieved is the right word. I was really more proud of him. It shows his grittiness and his toughness and what his teammates and what this defense means to him. And that's a credit to him. He's a tough player, and he really cares about being out there with his team in a game like that. And so that's a full credit to him, and I'm proud of him for being able to do that.
The reference there about not feeling relieved but proud was about his injury and the fact that he was gone for a good portion of that 2nd quarter, being in the 10th and so forth. And then when he came out late in the 2nd quarter, Dan Aguirre and I, who were at the game, we were keeping a close eye on him. He's going to get back. And he was just slowly stretching and trying to get that foot going and so forth. He didn't play the rest of that first half. But when he came out in the 3rd quarter, he was raring to go. He went out there like a warrior. And then during the course of the game, he would go to all of the offensive guys and slap them and say, come on, guys, you could do it. You could do it. The normally quiet Khalil Mack was trying to fire up his offense. And then he walks over to his defensive guys and he fires them up too. I was so proud of Khalil Mack Sunday against the Cleveland Browns. So proud that he is a Chicago Bear. So proud that I have his jersey hanging up somewhere over here. So proud of him. It made me feel good on a disastrous day.
That's leadership. That is Khalil Mack knowing that he's the best player on defense and showing his leadership there. And that's great insight, because they didn't show that Mack going up and down, boosting up the confidence of the offensive lineman and then his defensive mates. They didn't show that, but that's great insight there, Aldo. But yeah, I mean, gets injured. You see him going to the tent, and then they show him on TV walking into the locker room, and he's limping, and they say it's a foot injury. Then you think, worst case scenario, oh my God, did he break his foot? Did he rip a ligament? What's going on? But then he comes back, he misses almost a quarter, I want to say half a quarter, comes back in, and then gets another sack. So now Khalil Mack is back again. So yeah, that one of the highlights there, one of the first highlights I wanted to kind of stress was Robert Quinn get off his ability to play next to Mack, but Mack drawing the attention of 3 offensive linemen, and this is why I've always had this conversation. People always kind of chastise saying, "Oh, the Bears got ripped off on that trade with the Raiders." No, they didn't. They got a dominant pass rusher. Now, yeah, stat wise, he's not always filling up the stat sheet, but here you see the type of effort he gives you, the type of attention he draws, and that now is, for me at least, it gives his teammates no reason not to be able to beat their one-on-one blocks and get to the quarterback. So far, Robert Quinn's been doing it. Angelo Blackson in a more of a subtle way has been doing it. Another great free agent pickup for me. I got like that guy in training camp when we saw him in practices, and I think he's continuing that play here at the defensive line here in these first 3 games as well. So Bilal Nichols got to pick it up a little bit as well. I think he's got only 1 sack on the season, but he's got to be a little more consistent in terms of his pass rush and run defense as well. But man, I'm telling you, I think the Bears have that front 4, their ability to rush a passer is back again.
As you saw, I am Scott says that Mack hasn't practiced all week. And to me, that's okay. You want him ready on Sunday. There's going to be certain times during the season where he just shouldn't practice. We want him ready to go on Sunday. Now, this Detroit team, we're not going to do a scouting report on them now because we got a lot of tape to look through. But they've got a good offensive line, a good physical offensive line. So you really need Mack there on Sunday. All right, let's take a look at Khalil Mack's sack, all right?
Yeah, so this play here, first of all, it's just a terrific play design here by Kevin Stefanski and then the Browns here. It's 4th and 1. If Mack doesn't go ahead and close in and sack Mayfield here, there are 3 options for him. He's got Nick Chubb running out in the flat, who's going to get the easy first down. He's got Felton coming across the formation there, also easy first down target. And then OBJ runs a corner route and turns Deion Bush into circles there. And then he's open for a touchdown. So if Mack doesn't get to Mayfield here, that's either a first down or a touchdown possibly. So big play here. Again, Reed's, he kind of saw what Mayfield was trying to do, trying to get that ball out to Chubb in the flat there, and then kind of got in his way, and then just go ahead and turn on that burst, that speed, gets to Mayfield and brings him down. So that's a huge play by Khalil Mack there.
Yeah, I did not notice until you just brought that up of what Odell did to Jalen Johnson there.
That's actually Deion Bush.
Oh, I'm sorry, Deion Bush.
Yeah, just turns around. So look, great route here. Like I said, a touchdown, easy open touchdown. So if Mack doesn't get to Mayfield, that's easy. That's easy touchdown right there for the Browns.
Yeah, and the hustle there by Khalil Mack. I just love the motor that he's playing with. It is phenomenal to see.
He just seems energized. Again, last year dealt with a lot of injuries. There's things that he was always on the injury report with a shoulder, an ankle, or knee, or something. So far, we don't know how what other injuries he was dealing with that wasn't even reported. So far, so good. Now we got the foot injury we got to kind of worry about here and kind of monitor and see what happens there. But like I said, the good news is he came back into the game and was able to get a sack. So hopefully that's just a prelude to good things to come as well. So, but yeah, I mean, just definitely love the way he's playing, the energy, the quickness, the speed off the edge, and that closing burst to be able to get to Mayfield and take away the first down and also take away probably a sure touchdown.
All right, Mario Edwards was back.
Yeah, Mario Edwards' first game back, and welcome back, Mario Edwards. 1.5 sacks in this game, and here what he does is does a nice job. First of all, I want to point out real quick is a nice design by Sean Desai here. He has Roquan Smith and DeAndre Houston-Carson up in the A gap, and he's mugging the A gap. So what that does is that takes the attention of Kareem Hunt, an extra blocker, to now think, hey, one or both of these guys are coming, so I gotta go after them. Well, what happens is Roquan bails, and Houston-Carson does not come. So that gives one-on-one protection, offensive lineman versus defensive lineman. And there, Mario Edwards just uses his strong hands to be able to get underneath the pads of the guard and just rip right through him. He's a physical pass rusher. He's a guy that was always athletically talented, coming out of Florida State. And now just, the way he's playing with the Bears here is just he's putting him all together. And I think he's just one of those more physical guys at the point of attack. A guy does a great job of using his grip strength to be able to get underneath the pad level of the guard and then just kind of swipe right through and then flatten to the quarterback. So Mario Edwards, welcome back.
Yeah, and then the play earlier, I included this as a bonus play for everybody. Take it away and talk to us about what happened. Just the play earlier because I thought it was fantastic. It's after this field sideline view coming up.
Oh, this is the okay. Again, Robert Quinn here. Take a look at him, guys. Quickness off the snap.
He's at the right end position.
Right end position. Quickness off the snap. Crosses the face of the tackle. Gets inside. Brings some pressure. Marcus Hunt coming around on a stunt. We talked about Sean Desai running more stunts, running more loops here up front here. Comes around, and then Jeremiah Tucci comes in and finishes the playoff. Tucci I believe, was called for a hand to the helmet. But then that was they went ahead and picked it up there at the end and gave the Bears the actually they called it incomplete there on Mayfield, I believe it was, because
correct.
Yep.
Yeah,
So,
we were yelling at the stadium. We were yelling that it was intentional grounding because we thought he was outside that tackle box, but clearly he was. We thought he was in the tackle box, but clearly he was out, and so he got away with one there. But I'll tell you one thing: you remember the old days when they used to have the penalty in the grasp? I mean, come on. This guy, they'd want to protect the quarterbacks, but they don't call in the grasp anymore. It doesn't make any sense to me. This guy
looked like he was in the grasp by 3 different players there.
Right
there's one, there's
whistle,
two.
Whistle, come on.
But yeah, I mean, again, just the we talked about the stunts, the way he's designing up front, the side that is, Marcus Hunt comes off. Of course, Quinn gets inside, causes that initial pressure. Marcus Hunt loops around, gets pressure as well. He's got to be able to finish now. He's got to be able to finish that sack. But then Jeremiah Tucci coming off from the other side gets in there and then it forces that incompletion there as well. So again, this is when Mac was out of the game here. This is when Mac had left the game because of the foot injury, and we saw the pressure, the type of pressure they just put on here with the likes of Quinn, Tucci, and Hunt as well. So and for me, it's obviously the return of Quinn, but also I think what Desai is doing up front with some of the stunts and games he's playing.
All right. I got a soundbite here about Sean Desai talking about Khyiris Tonga because you weren't really high on him when he came out and was drafted in the 7th round. This is Tonga, though, had a good game against Cleveland, and this is Desai talking about it.
Obviously a big, thick presence down the middle of the defense, and he's been getting better each week. And that's a good thing because, as a rookie, you just never know how quickly those guys will develop, and he's taken it on, and he's embraced all the coaching that we're giving him. Coach Rump's doing a good job with him, and I think he's going to continue to get better. Regardless of the round and the pick you are, I mean, we're coaching the player just like we coach everybody else. So, he's being coached hard. He's taking the coaching, and he's real humble and hungry to get better. He's like a sponge. He's just trying to get feedback from everybody on what he can do, how he can improve, and then he's getting adjusted to the speed of the game. And that's a real thing for a lot of rookies when they play. Especially when it's down there in the trenches, things happen a lot faster for him. And so he's improving. You saw that this last week.
What are your thoughts on Tonga based on what you've seen after 3 games?
I'm sorry, guys. I just don't see it with Khyiris Tonga. And I know I've been critical of him. And I give him credit. He's a guy, for me, is a developmental guy, a guy who needs to get into the weight room, get stronger at the point of attack. But, he was billed as a run-stuffing defensive lineman. And for me, I didn't see it at BYU. I mean, he was very consistent. There was times where a guard was moving him off his landmark. Here we see him getting twisted and turned at the next level, NFL level. The only thing where he flashed, where we got into Baker Mayfield, but then he got a penalty for leading with his helmet, and then that was a 15-yard penalty and it was first down. So even when he does flash, at least for me, he drew a flag. So a guy that you can definitely put on the practice squad and develop and get stronger and maybe has some potential there. But right now, as soon as Eddie Goldman gets back, I think Tonga is either inactive or he's on a practice squad for me. I just don't see him. I know Desai said that he's getting better and that he had a good game, but you look at the stat sheet, he only had 5 tackles and I think 2 solo. So for me, he doesn't make an impact that at least I want to see out there. But that's me. That's me looking at the tape there, and I just don't see it with Tonga.
But I got to tell you, Danny, 5 tackles in a limited amount of time in 3 games is pretty good. And that penalty, it was still a sack. He's still the reason he was penalized, and this is according to Sean Desai, was because he landed his full body on him, and that's something that they are coached not to do. They are coached to make sure you get the sack, but when you land, make sure part of your body is landing on the turf.
Sure.
And so what he did was landed his entire body on the quarterback, and therefore the flag. But the overall thought here is that, yes, he's not playing at a Pro Bowl level. He may never play at a Pro Bowl level, but he certainly has been a serviceable backup nose guard for those games where Getty Goldman is not playing, or Bilal Nichols or whoever's playing the nose needs a breather.
I don't see it, guys. I'm sorry. You look at some of those run plays that Browns are. I don't have it queued up here, but he's getting pushed all over the place. He's a guy. If he's a run-stopping defensive lineman, he's gonna have to stand his ground, take on double teams, and be just a block eater. And he's not doing that. And he's a guy that's easily pushed off by one blocker, much less two blockers. So for me, he's not doing what I want him to do, and that's just take up space and be a dominant run stuffer. Now, could he develop into one? Certainly. I'm not giving up on the kid. I'm not saying cut him and release him. I'm just saying he's a guy that right now, I just can't wait for Eddie Goldman to come back, and hopefully he does come back. So that way they can we can shore up that, because with Goldman, with Hicks, with Nichols, and with Blackson, that's something I'm excited about. And then now Mario Edwards back into the mix there as well. That's something I'm excited about.
Yeah, me too. All right, let's move on. Have to do it. Move on to the bad news. And so, what are we calling this second segment of the show? You were talking about scheme and offensive line, correct?
So for me, obviously, guys, we know the Bears' offensive line is if not the worst, one of the worst offensive line in the NFL, right? But in this game, they looked horrible. They looked confused. But for me, I didn't think coaching helped them either. I think they were put in situations where I'm not even sure what they were asked to do, but it just didn't look like they're prepared. They're well coached to be able to take on a front. Now, Cleveland coming into the game, they have some talented players up front. I know they were giving up some points, some yards in the first 2 weeks. That was a little bit, they were under pressure in terms of turning it up, and they sure did turn it up against that Bears offensive line. And from the beginning, from the start of the game, I just felt like, for me, although you're there, correct me if I'm wrong, but I just felt like the offensive line, the Bears offensive line, was just overwhelmed by the Browns front four, front seven guys. And, a guy that we talked about, off the air is Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, the kid from Notre Dame, Jock. And he was a factor, guys. I mean, I think he only had like the 1 sack and 2 tackles in the stat sheet, but the kid was all over the place. He was covering Cole Kmet like a blanket. He was back in coverage. He was delayed blitzes. He was just utilizing that speed, that ability, that striking force that we talked about during the Draft on Tap shows. Both myself and Neil were high on him. He was my second rated inside linebacker coming out this past draft, behind Micah Parsons. So and the fact that they got him in the second round was an absolute steal. I think the biggest concern with him, there was a medical concern that came up during the medical checkups pre-draft process. And the biggest question for me with him was, where do you play him? Because he was kind of a tweener, but the Browns looked like they figured it out with this kid. It's a talented kid, athletic, and he was all over the place. So it's just the offensive line, getting back to what I was trying to say here, the offensive line just seemed confused. They didn't know who to pick up. And they're put in situations, though, by the coaching staff that just, to me, was not ideal and was not optimal.
Yep. All right, let's go to this a perfect example, the lack of chipping that went on in this game. And in this particular play that you've highlighted for us, it's David Montgomery.
Yeah, first of all, here, Jermaine Ifedi get oversets because he's concerned about the speed off the edge by Jadeveon Clowney. Oversets, opens up his inside leg, gives Clowney a clear path to the quarterback. Here, David Montgomery, I'm a huge fan, but you know what? You're always taught as a running back, if you see the opposing team's colors breaking through and you're not a ball carrier, you're just basically running out into a pattern. You chip, you lay a shoulder into a defender, you do whatever you can to kind of stop that guy from getting to your quarterback and killing him. And Montgomery just runs right by. He sees that if Eddie's beaten, he just runs right by him. And Clowney gets right to Justin Fields, giving him no chance to get rid of the football here. So this is one thing where, for me, it's coaching. That's got to be drilled into the player's head. That's got to say, you know what? You see opposing team's color flash in front of you, and you're not a ball carrier. You do whatever you can. You stop your process. You stop your route, whatever you're trying to do. You chip. You lay a shoulder into a defensive lineman. You try and help out your offensive tackle that just got beaten like a rag dog. So this is where, for me, coaching is something it's got to be drilled in these players' heads. I'm not sure why David Montgomery just didn't even do anything, not even make an attempt to try and stop the process of Jadeveon Clowney getting to Justin Fields.
Mm-hmm. And I got to tell you, the left tackle on this play too, Peters, did not show very good. He got pushed right back into the quarterback.
Yeah, Jason Peters. I think he had an okay game versus the Bengals, but so far out of the 3 games, he's looked like a guy who was sitting on his boat fishing when the Bears called him to come play left tackle.
That is right. And I know that Sam Mustipher has been getting a lot of crap, but
Yes.
I don't think he deserves it. I mean, look at him in this play, and every one of the highlights or lowlights that Danny has chosen, Mustipher is holding his own on it. Now, I'm not saying that he had a flawless game by any means, but I'm not seeing that same terrible play that so many of our followers say he's having after the game or during the week. What are your thoughts overall on Sam Mustipher, the center?
Mustipher for me is more of an athletic guy, that guy that can get out to the second level and get to those second level blocks and be able to be effective that way. His weakness, and this is something that he worked on the offseason, was getting stronger at the point of attack. There are times where you see him just get in a bad angle and he gets blown backwards into the backfield. There was one play where a defensive lineman just kind of, I think it was a cheap shot, but anyway, he kind of clocked him to the side and just blew him sideways, about 2-3 yards, going tumbling down. So his strength at the point of attack is not where it needs to be. He's gone stronger from last season, according to what the reports I'd read about him, but he still lacks it. And there are times where he just gets blown backwards. But again, his strength is being the athletic guy. He's a smart kid, a guy they can help call out the formations and set the blocking schemes and all that stuff. So they like him for that. But if he gets a bad angle on a big, strong, physical defensive lineman, he can get pushed back into the backfield and into the quarterback. And I think that's where he looks bad. But his game is more athletic and more second level. Again, the Bears run this zone blocking scheme where they want their offensive linemen, especially the interior guys, to be athletic, be able to reach, defensive linemen that are, 3, 4, 5 yards away from them on those reach blocks. So he's got to be more athletic, and especially when he gets to that second level. So I think that's where Mustipher's strengths are. Unfortunately, his weakness is when it's caught on film, it looks bad because he gets blown off the football.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's move on to the next play, which is
So this is
Komet.
Yep. So this is what I want to ask you, Aldo, and I want to ask our listeners. Do you guys know who Myles Garrett is?
Yeah, I kind of remember who he is.
Yeah. He's one of the premier pass rushers in the NFL. My question to the Bears coaching staff is, why is Cole Kmet, a second-year tight end, blocking Myles Garrett one-on-one? That should never happen. I mean, so let's go ahead and run the tape here. And this is now we see Jock coming here on delay blitz. We see that aggressive speed be able to close in on Justin Fields. But Cole Kmet one-on-one versus Myles Garrett, to me, it should never happen. I should never see that. Now, if you want to back there, help him chip a little bit, maybe we can do that. And unless, again, the play, if it's a quick hitting play, we'll see here on this angle here that looks like Fields had an opportunity to get rid of the football to Mooney there, or running that slant route. But for that reason, he didn't pull the trigger. But what caught my eye was Myles Garrett on Cole Kmet one-on-one. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Garrett already had 2.5 sacks at this point in this football game. You would think that by now that they would go ahead and just give him extra attention and just try and give Fields a chance back there. But again, this really just boggles my mind. I never thought I'd see Cole Kmet one-on-one versus Myles Garrett.
And by the way, just to point it out to all the Mustipher haters, there's number 67 in the middle. Does an outstanding job of neutralizing the nose tackle. But here it is coming up. Mooney on the slant. This
right there. That ball's got to be out of his hands right there.
And you'll see it, that's Mooney circled. When he gets to the stem of the route, I believe it's called, you gotta fucking fire. Right you gotta fire that ball. This is the NFL, baby.
And we'll get to Justin Fields later on in this film breakdown. But yeah, there are opportunities here where Justin Fields, just for whatever reason, like I said, whether it's because he's been running scout team, doesn't have the timing, the rhythm with these receivers. But yeah, that's a wide open NFL throw there. And that's right there at that point. That ball's got to be out of his hands. And he's got a passing lane, a left passing window, it appears there. He's got a receiver coming right open. He's got to let that ball rip there and get rid of that football. So, again, rookie mistakes. We expected that from Justin Fields. But I just didn't expect to have him get sacked 9 times with Cole Kmet blocking Myles Garrett one-on-one. That's something that I just don't understand. But yeah, that's an opportunity there to get rid of the football and avoid that sack.
Well, and one of the important things that would have been difficult for him to complete that pass is that long, like Greg Gabriel did 2 weeks ago. He actually demonstrated. He had a football handy, and he demonstrated that he kind of loops that ball and before releasing it. And on a play like that, if he does that, then there's a chance he may not even get the pass off, even if he's got the timing. So those are the little things that he's got to work on, and DeFilippo has to work on with him. Now, I have noticed that he doesn't do that on every throw. I don't know what it is, but sometimes it's the release is faster and more textbook, but other times he's taking it down and then firing. Have you noticed that at all, Danny?
Well, I've noticed it on plays where there's indecision, where he's not sure what to go with the football. And again, is it something where it's an experience? Is it a coaching issue? Is it something where he doesn't have the timing down with the receiver? He just doesn't want to get rid of the football because he's not sure when the receiver is going to stem that route or break it. But that looked like just a typical slant route. Again, we saw it here from the end zone angle. We saw it from the sideline above the top angle. It looked like Mooney was wide open. Yeah, he was going to get hit on that play for sure. And Jock was going to hit him. Garrett was going to hit him. But that's a ball where you got to get rid of it. And we know Justin Fields is tough, just going back to some of his college tape at Ohio State. So I don't think he's scared back there in the pocket. It's just a matter of he just didn't feel confident. He just wasn't ready to get rid of the football. And like I said, we're going to get into some more throws here or plays here where I think he had a chance to get rid of the football and avoid sacks and avoid negative plays. But just for some reason, he just wasn't able to get rid of it. Now, Matt Nagy said this, he wasn't ready, but then Laser comes on and says he's been ready since training camp. So you're getting some information here back and forth. You're not sure who to believe. I'm on the record saying that I think Justin Fields give the Bears the best chance to win, but not with this type of game plan. You're not gonna get him to win because you're gonna just limit him to being a pocket passer, not utilizing his ability. But those are things that. This is going to be a game that not only is going to be a teaching moment for the coaching staff, for the offensive line, but for Justin Fields as well.
4,000 Clover says, okay, but question for Danny, is Kmet legit or is it he's just not being used correctly? Because I just don't see it. He's been hyped to be the next Kelsey. What do you think?
I'm not giving up on Cole Kmet. He's got the size I like in a tight end, but so Kelsey is a little bit different. Kelsey is more of a playmaking tight end that could be split out wide in the slot. He could be lined up inside it as a inline wide tight end, inline blocker, if you will. For me, Cole Kmet is strictly a wide tight end, which means he's an inline blocking tight end. He's a guy that can be effective. Think the comp I had for Kmet coming out of college was a Kyle Rudolph, not just because they both went to Notre Dame, but more of a bigger target, a guy that can be a threat in the red zone, a guy that's not going to be making these big plays downfield like a Kelsey does, for example. But a guy that can be effective in between the hash marks, in between the numbers, it can be a safety valve for the quarterback. But I just don't see him creating any separation. Now, we haven't seen much production from any of the Bears tight ends, right? So is that scheme? Is it are they not getting open? Are they not creating separation? But so far, when I watch Cole Kmet play, when he does run a pattern, he's had a couple of drops, okay, but there's also he hasn't created much separation, and there's a couple tapes or a couple plays in this game where Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah was on him like white on rice, and he couldn't get away from him, and he was on there and he was able to knock the ball away from him. So I think it's a combination of everything. But he's not a comp to Travis Kelce, but yet he's still a young player. I'm not ready to give on him just yet.
IAS has a very disturbing thought. He says, to be honest, I think all of our offensive coaches are terrible. All of them were out of the league, some multiple times and picked up by us. The coaching must get better. But that is the nature of coaching in the NFL. When a new coach comes into a system, he wants his guys. And so sometimes that means that coaches who were doing a good job get released. That's just kind of the nature of that business, isn't it, Danny?
It is, and the one thing with this Bears offensive coaching staff, I mean, D. Filippo comes highly recommended as a tutor of quarterbacks, a guy that works well with quarterbacks and develops quarterbacks. Bill Lazor, yeah, I know he was offensive coordinator with a couple of different stops, but he's had some moderate success. We saw him when he took over last year with Trubisky. He had some moderate success. The competition wasn't great. We understand that part, but the offense was productive. They produced points. My thing is, Matt Nagy was sold to the Bears fans, Bears Nation, as an innovative play caller, play designer. We know Matt Nagy's not that. I know that he's not that. He has a chance to be a good coach, I think, a good head coach, but I don't think he is. I know he's not an innovative play caller, play designer. After that, for the first 8 or 9 games of his first season in 2018, it looked like the league caught up to him quick in terms of what he was trying to do with his offense. And remember that second half of that season, it was pretty much the defense was carrying that Bears team into that playoff run. So I think since then, he has not done anything to prove to anybody in this league, especially me or you guys, that he's an innovative play caller, play designer. He's a guy that just has the blinders on. This is his offense. This is how it's run. There's no innovation in it. He doesn't try anything different. He doesn't play to the player's strengths. He doesn't coach to the player's strengths. The players are going to adjust to his system. It's not the other way around. And I think that is going to doom him in the end. I think Matt Nagy needs to, I think Bill Lazor will be calling the plays this week. That's just my hunch. But I think he just needs to, give away that play calling responsibilities. I'll remember early on in the season, when I heard Matt Nagy was taking back play calling, I think it was right after the draft. Maybe it might have been in training camp where he said that he was going to take over play calling duties. That right there was a red flag for me. That right there told me, you know what, we're in trouble here because this guy has proven, at least to me, that he's not an innovative play designer or play caller. So if he gives up the play calling duties to Bill Lazor, see what Lazor can do with this, whether it's Justin Fields or it's Andy Dalton, who he has a history with going back with Cincinnati. If the offense starts picking up steam, I think Matt Nagy has a chance to maintain his job and be an okay coach, head coach, but just not an offensive play caller.
We're getting compliments on our shirts. I don't know where you got yours, but I know where I got mine at deepdishtees.com. You can get cool apparel. You can get water bottles. You can get mugs. You get all sorts of great barroom swag like the one.
You can get a Draft on Tap shirt.
That's
with
right.
That logo on it.
That's right. Draft on Tap shirts. You can get Draft on Tap's embroidered hats. You can get Draft on Tap stickers. And for those of you who don't know about Draft on Tap, that's the show that Danny and Neil Stopchinski do prior to the NFL draft, where they evaluate hundreds of players for the draft. And it's a really tedious task. So by you buying Draft on Tap apparel, barroom apparel, we can maybe give those guys a couple of bucks so that they can buy some coffee filters and shit like that.
Yeah.
They're doing all that.
So I can eat something.
Yeah, there you go.
Although just gives me crackers and water. All it gives me is
that's all I give them, crackers and like a couple teaspoons of water. All right, let's move on. I love the way when Danny sends me a list of the plays he wants to highlight, and I love what he wrote down on this particular play was something like, what the hell is Jason Peters doing at Garrett's feet?
So yeah, let's go ahead and run this beauty of a play here. Jason Peters, I said, has been struggling, and here he chops at the feet of Myles Garrett. Typically, left tackles don't do that, especially if it's at the 3rd and 14 play and it's a passing down. I've seen this done when it's a quick hitting play out to the left, and he's trying to chop the legs of the defensive lineman so he doesn't get his arms up into the passing lane and bat down a football. But that's not what was happening here. Why he's chopping at the legs of Myles Garrett, I have no idea. Damian Williams with a half-ass chip there effort as well, which disappointed me too. The one thing with these backs is you got to get into, or it's got to be ingrained in their heads. If your tackles are getting beat, and these tackles are getting beat a lot, these Bears tackles, you got to get in there. If you're running in a pattern, that's fine. You can run your pattern, but chip the defensive lineman as you're getting out into your pattern. Now I know he tries there. Williams, to his credit, he does try there, as opposed to the Montgomery clip we saw earlier. But that's a half-ass block. I mean, you got to knock Myles Garrett down, or at least stop his momentum somewhat, and give Justin Fields a chance to get back there in the pocket. But yeah, when I saw this play, I'm like, what the hell is Jason Peters doing? Why is he? I was trying to figure out why he was chopping at his legs. And I'm like, is there a quick screen set up to Damian Williams? Is that what he was trying to chop him so he doesn't get his hands up and bat the ball? but Fields doesn't even look at it. Doesn't even look at Damian Williams.
Right.
So again, just a confusing play. Not sure why he's doing that. Was he coached to do that? Was he just doing it on his own? A lot of questions I had when I watched this film.
Yes, that is so true. And like you pointed out, Damian Williams helped me understand what is the appropriate way for him to react here. Because first of all, the ball is snapped and he's just kind of standing there as if he is waiting to read something and delay out of the backfield. And then what he does is he basically gets entangled with Peters. What is the proper way for him to do whatever he's supposed to do here?
Well, for me, looking at this play pre-snap, I'm thinking he's looking at one of those outside linebackers and see if they're going to come. If they're coming, he's going to go ahead and be a blocker for them, or if they come get through. So he sees that they, does a decent job in terms of blocking those guys. So now he's going to release out into the pattern there. But
Right.
as I said earlier with Montgomery, if you see the other color flash by you or in front of you as you're going out, you got to chip. You got to do something to stop that guy from getting to your quarterback. Because I don't care how clean of a route you run, how open you are. If that quarterback's being flattened by a 299-pound defensive end, that ball's not coming your way, buddy. So what you got to do is you got to at least chip him, put some force into it, something there to help Peters out as he's sprawling on the ground trying to chop the feet of Myles Garrett out,
Right.
and then get into your release and hope the quarterback looks your way and gets you the football. But again, just poor execution, confusion all around. Not sure why Peters is doing that. What was happening here? But again, this is. If you look at this tape or you watch the game live, you'll feel disgusted. You look at this tape, you're still disgusted, but now you have more questions like what are they, what were they coached or what were they told during the week of practice? We saw Laser talk earlier about, we gave him some ideas in terms of fronts and what could happen. So was Jason Peters doing this on his own? Was he coached to go ahead and chop Myles Garrett's feet on a 3rd and 14 and a pass set where his primary goal is to keep his frame in between that defensive end and this quarterback? Again, a lot of questions, just unfortunately, not many good answers.
And in this particular play, it is a 3rd down and 14. So you can also put this one on the column where Fields could have helped himself. I mean, here he is. The ball is in his hands. 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. He's got plenty of time to do something. And now on the sideline view, he at the very least can dump this ball off to Kyle Kmet, who's going out into the flat right there near the 20-yard line. He's at the 19. He's at the 20. He's at the 21. He could have. Now, it's unlikely Kmet could have picked up the 1st down, but he at least would have avoided another effing sack, So
exactly.
that's
our
problem.
Besides Kmet, he could also take off of the football. You see there's a little seam there opening up in the middle between Whitehair and Mustafa, and just you feel the pressure. The kid has good pocket sense there. Get rid of it. Throw it away, like you said, throw it to Kmet, or just take off and run with the football and get yourself some positive yards and just avoid the sack. So. Just the whole offense was just discombobulated. Again, Fields is a rookie, his first start, career start on the road. We thought he was gonna, a little bit more better prepared for this, but I just think that he was put in a situation, with the game plan and offensively, with the coaching staff that just didn't lead to a successful start for him.
We've got more poor protection tape coming up, but I want us to listen to Bill Lazier talk about the protection issue.
It's easy right here to sit here and say it, but I'll say it anyway. When you have those kind of protection issues, I mean, if I could go back a week, and I can't, but if I could, I'd help have a different protection plan. We had some things in there. Some of it just didn't work the way we thought it would, but we thought it was a good answer, and it just didn't work. Some of it, obviously, we have mechanisms to help in protection more, whether it be to throw the ball faster, to move the pocket more, to help on the edges, to turn the line and help with more guys, to use tight ends more in protection. All the different answers that we have, and they're all in the offense. It's easy to say I would go back and do things differently because of what the results are. And so let's learn from it and not have it happen again. And I do think also evaluate ourselves as coaches as it was going. Obviously, when you get to a certain point of the game, you're in a 2-minute mode. But as it was going, could we have reacted better and moved to some of those things differently? Again, today I'd say yes.
it's telling what he said there. You know, they messed up.
Right.
And he later, I don't know if I have this in the next soundbite from Coach Laser, but he talks about we have the answers in the playbook. We have it because they go through every single thing. In fact, let me just play this because I think this is where he was asked, you know, who do you blame for the 9 sacks? Mark Potash asked the
Yeah, what would
question.
you say are the biggest pass protection issues that need to be fixed? Is it just X's and O's, or what?
No, I think the guys would be real honest. I'm not going to say any names and blame any players because I think it's obvious if someone got beat,
Right.
he's going to look at it. He's going to look at his set. Did I have help inside? Did I not have help inside? Did I set appropriately? Was this a play action? I should have been firmer. Was I too firm? Did I see how the defender was aligned and anticipate that the movement might have happened? So that's part of it, and I don't feel any differently about our players. What happened, and so you deal with the specifics, move forward. You know, the biggest thing as when you talk to the offensive coordinator is the big picture. Okay, did I help have enough answers in there? So when you're asking me the question, my mind goes to the answers because that's my job.
I guess my question is, was this something that other teams could, now they had 2 really good pass rushers, obviously, in Clowney and Garrett, but was this
Some other
something,
guys that rushed pretty good too. But yeah.
was this something that other teams can look at the way you did or did not protect and say, hey, this is how we can attack the Bears?
I think so.
An issue that you have to deal with.
I think the players specifically have to look at what hurt them individually and assume that the teams you're playing study you, just like we study rushers and what are their moves and how they do it. So specifically, the players have to take a look in the mirror. Okay, this is what I put on film, so be ready. And then as an offense, we have to make sure, okay, this is what they're going to see. Usually, even if you solve the problem the next week, it's going to last a couple weeks. Excuse me, because people are going to be watching that film for a couple weeks. People are going to, just like we do, right, at the beginning of the week, I get the stats, and it says, okay, we're playing the Lions. This is the stats from week 1. This is from week 2, week 3. So you see what happened in every game. Say, oh, wow, that somebody ran the ball for this yards per rush against them. Let's really study how they did it and see if that applies to us. They're going to do the same thing with our pass protection. So that's going to – the last game of the season, people might still look at that number of sacks and go back. So we better solve it. And again, my focus obviously is on the scheme part of it. Do we have enough tools and answers for our guys? And when you have that many, it's I know I'm not trying to give like a canned answer, but it is pretty shared. Like scheme, throwing the ball on time, technique. Do we have more answers and different things we could do? I mean, it's hard to have that many pass protection issues and not honestly say it was shared.
Scheme, throwing the ball on time, players throwing blocks down the feet of people, on and on and on. It is shared. There's no doubt about it.
It is shared, and we just saw you one clip right there. We showed you, you know, what's Peters doing? Why is he chop blocking on Myles Garrett? You know, we showed that the quarterback could have got rid of the football to commit, could have run with it, could have avoided that sack. You know, all of it goes hand in hand. But the thing for me, and correct me if I'm wrong, or maybe you think differently, but I think he just threw Matt Nagy under the bus there. And because he says, we have all this in our playbook and we have to adjust. Well, who's a play caller? You know, he's the offensive coordinator by title, but who's calling the plays? So if you're a play caller and you're seeing your offensive line is being overwhelmed by the Browns front 7, I only counted, I went through the tape and someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I only counted 2 times where there was max protection. Twice. Okay. And that's bringing in 2 tight ends and using your back in there to protect. 2 times I saw max protection. I think it was 2 or 3 times where they actually rolled the quarterback out. They moved his launch point. You know, if you are going to be, are you getting killed up front by pressure? That's the way to beat it. What did Kevin Stefanski do in the third quarter when the Bears were just getting pressure on Baker Mayfield? He threw a screen pass. I didn't see a screen pass at all in this game. Matt Nagy, you're the play caller. Why is no max protection? Why aren't you rolling Justin Fields out? Why aren't you calling some screen passes to kind of offset? The Browns are just peeling back and coming after you guys. Your guys were overwhelmed. You know, they were drowning. and you did nothing to help them. And that's what pissed me off. And that's why like this is where the coach has to make adjustments, in-game adjustments, halftime adjustments, help your guys. They're getting killed. Throw a screen pass. A screen pass is a great way to kind of stop these guys and then let them, go ahead and just try and beat that pressure and get away from it. Roll your quarterback out, get him away from the pressure. Get him out in the open field. You have a dynamic quarterback who's got athletic ability to be able to run away from defenders. Get him out there. Move his launch point. I didn't see many of that. Honestly, any of those adjustments, I'm not sure what. Again, that's Matt Nagy. Bill Lazor, the offensive coordinator, is saying this is in the playbook. We have ways to combat this stuff to adjust, but the play caller didn't adjust, and that to me, he's throwing him under the bus.
I suspect that what is going on there is that Bill Lazor, during the course of the game, is saying we need to do some screens. We need to adjust this. We need to do this. And Matt Nagy, we all know how stubborn he is. We all know what a cement head he is. That's borrowing a phrase from somebody in the chat. But we know that he fails to kind of be inclusive with his coaching staff, have his coaching staff provide input that he then executes. He doesn't do it. And so what I suspect that what we might be seeing here is a offensive coordinator basically letting everyone know it's not my fault. It's that guy's fault.
Yeah. And that's how I took it too. That's him throwing him on the bus. Because if all this stuff is in the playbook, why didn't we see it? Why do we see only 2 max protects when your offensive line is giving up sacks left and right? And this is one of the biggest fears I have about Justin Fields coming in. It was not him being a bust. It was Matt Nagy ruining him. And to take this kid and just put him strictly in a pocket. Now, I have no doubt that Justin Fields over time is going to be a successful quarterback from the pocket. That's not a doubt in my mind. But it just right now, as we saw in some of these clips here, he just wasn't reading. He wasn't getting the ball out of his hands quick enough from the pocket. Make him comfortable, whether it's out of the pocket, rolling out, using some RPOs. I saw them doing a lot of more play action with RPOs than actually any RPOs. So it's just the game plan, the blocking scheme, the whole everything just offensively just made no sense. And I was just furious back then, and I'm furious now having reviewed it and just talking about it right now and listening to what Lazor's talking about.
All right, I've got a play here. Let me actually save this one. Let's go to the Fields protection. There's only 5 guys protecting, and there's 7 guys at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah. So this is where I'm talking about the scheme that just didn't make no sense. Here, you great job here, although you're counting up there. There's 7 guys at the line of scrimmage, right? You count those X's, there's 7 guys. There's only 5 guys with a back in the backfield. So only 5 blockers there. So right away, you know that the Bears are at a point, and you got 2 guys right there mugging the A gap in the middle. So right now, you know that the Bears are going to be shit out of luck here with they have more guys coming than they can block. And this is late in the 4th quarter. And this is, I think, Myles Garrett's the last sack. And he pretty much goes untouched here. He's got 3.5 sacks in the game already, and Jason Peters can't even touch him. So, again, at that point, you have, call a timeout. Say, all right, guys, we have 7 guys here at the line of scrimmage. Yep. We only got 5 guys, maybe a 6th guy if the back stays in and block. How are we going to get this playoff? They can't. Mm-hmm. Fields is running, and then I think this is maybe where he hurt his hand as well. I think he fell on top of the football too. So, again, you just put them in a situation where they're not going to succeed here. They're not going to succeed. You're already being killed all game. And, late in the 4th quarter, you're still doing it. And you said it. He's stubborn. He just will not change. He will not adjust. And that's something where he's going to get himself fired if he continues calling these plays.
Chubbs has been in the chat room criticizing the scheming and the pass routes and so forth. So, and I think this is an interesting play to dissect that, Danny, because like you said, there's only 5 guys in. Every other offensive player is going on in a pass route, but everybody's guarded. So explain to me how that can happen.
Right. It just no one's open. I mean, and then I think that's come out right there over in the flat. Just gets open. That's a 3-by-1 set there. We got 3 receivers lumped up in there on one side and the left side. And again, the pressure is coming from that side, and there's no way for him to look at commit to his left and throw the ball to him. So, he rolls to his right, and then, Myles Garrett looks like he's ready to launch out of, in a 400-meter race or something like that. There comes out, flying by Jason Peters, and no chance. Again, the two guys to the direction he's running to his right are covered. So where's he going to throw the ball? Other than just throw the ball away here, he's got no other chance. And again, ends up in a sack. So no, this is one play that again, just the coaching, the design of the play just made no sense to me at all. Not at all.
Mhm. All right, I got a play here, and I labeled it something because I think this is a play. Oh, this is a play that I think Fields missed an opportunity to go deep. This is the end zone.
This is we have the keyed up in one of my first plays. If we show that the white or here, so here before you run it, if you look at it right now, look at the way they're set up. Looks like they're in a cover two zone here. They have one-on-one coverage on the outside, so it looks like that's half zone, half man. That's what they're playing here pre-snap. Outside there to his right, that's Marquise Goodwin, probably the fastest guy on the football team. Right. He's got one-on-one. The corner's playing press man. So if you're Fields, I think your first option, or if I'm the quarterback, that's my first option, especially if that safety stays in the middle of the field and doesn't give over the top help coverage. Right. Now, the other option, once you run the tape, is we see Cole Kmet chip and release into the flat. That'll be my second read. So, but again, for me right there, that ball should have been thrown away or thrown up top and let Marquise Goodwin run underneath it. Okay. Right. Goodwin has the speed to get over the top leverage. And as you ran that last angle of it, we saw Goodwin wins. He wins over the top leverage. At that point, Justin Fields, trust your receiver. The safety doesn't go over there to cover. Safety stays in the middle of the field. This is where you need to just get the ball up, throw it to Marquise Goodwin, and see if he makes a play at it. Right. Plays, windows here in the NFL, we all know are tighter, much tighter than they are in college football. Situations where you see players are covered, they could actually be open. The Browns are a prime example where there's twice where Jalen Johnson and Kendall Vildor had pretty good coverage on Donovan Peoples-Jones and Odell Beckham Jr., but Baker Mayfield with the ball placement, back shoulder throw to both those guys, they're able to adjust, extend away from their frames, and bring in the catch for a big play. In the NFL, you're going to see guys covered, but you have to trust their ability to go up and make a play on the football and just get them the ball. Here for me, once I snap the ball, that safety stays inside the numbers. I have one-on-one outside with Marquise Goodwin. He's got speed. I know where he's going. I throw it up there. You're a pretty good, accurate deep ball thrower. Give him a chance to run underneath that football and make a play on the ball. That's what I would have done. If not, then I would have gone to Cole Kmet on the flat there.
So once again, you've got two cornerbacks playing press coverage, but the guy on the left is playing a little off. So you should already be looking to the right because that guy is playing close to the receiver. And then you're also looking at that safety, the one at the top of the screen, and you're seeing him at the snap of the ball, not going back, but going forward.
Right.
And so immediately here, Fields should be looking to his right, and right there, throwing the ball. You see the receiver already a step ahead of that cornerback. That ball should be gone right there.
Actually, before the receiver, before this point here, that safety comes inside. He's staying inside the numbers. He's not going to give over the top help. I know Marquise Goodwin's got 4.4 speed. I'm throwing it up there. I'm letting him go up there. Right now, the ball's gone. Before this point here, the ball's got to be gone. It's got to be out of his hands, and it's got to be up there. Let Marquise Goodwin go up there and make a play. And again, could this something that he could develop with Goodwin over time, over reps, over practice? Sure. And I'm not giving up on the kid at all. I mean, obviously, just one start. But that's what I'm talking about. That's an opportunity there for a big play. And I think he missed it there. And again, with Kmet also in the flat, I think also was an opportunity for him to dump it off there and avoid the sack there as well. So, there are times here where, we see, throws that just for some reason he just wasn't comfortable getting rid of that football. But here in this case right here, you see that safety staying in the middle of the field. You have one-on-one coverage. You're one of the fastest guys in the NFL. Throw it up there and see what they can do with it.
Here's another one where Justin seems to hold the ball a little too long.
Yeah, this is the one to, let's see, this is the third and 10.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it looks like here, if we run it back real quick, I think this is the one where Kmet's on the flat.
Right.
Yeah, the Kmet's on the flat, and he just holds onto the football and doesn't get rid of it. And again, just an opportunity to avoid the sack. We see Kmet here flying out in the flat right there. You can get rid of the ball right there. You can get to Kmet, and then I think this is where he could again avoid the sack, get rid of the football, but just feel like he was just holding onto the ball too long. I think you have A-Rob circled there on the slot.
Hey,
A-Rob did.
the reason I circled them is because, Danny, you got to explain this to me. What is A-Rob doing here? This is not a pass pattern I've ever seen. What the hell is he doing? He's like looking for a spot to run to.
Right. So he was lined up in the slot. He was supposed to run, I believe, a hitch. I think this is a 3rd and 5, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
He ran a 4-yard hitch, and he came back to the football. And I think that's where Fields was trying to give him the ball. But then he saw Fields breaking, contain, getting out of the pocket. So now he's thinking it's a scramble drill, and he's just trying to run around and get open. But again, that was a route by Robinson that I didn't know. First of all, even if Fields throws that ball to him, he's still short of the first down. So I always say when you're on 3rd down, you got to be able to run to the sticks, at least get past the sticks, so you can at least, if you need to catch the ball, get a first down. But then, we ran a 4-yard route. It's 3rd and 5, and only 4 yards. And then when he sees Fields kind of scrambling back there, he's trying to run do the scramble drill and just kind of run around and get open and give Fields an opportunity to go the ball down to him. But as we saw, no opportunity to go ahead and even set his feet and get rid of the football downfield. It just constantly the things that we see all afternoon, we saw on tape. You break it down, slow it down. There are just chances there for him to get rid of the football, and just doesn't do it.
All right. Fascinating stuff. I love this stuff. Let us move on now to this is the play where another play where he fails to find Kmet. And I got to tell you, Cole Kmet has been getting some criticism, and rightfully so in some circumstances, but in other circumstances, I think he's getting open and the ball's just not coming his way. So statistically, it's not looking good for Cole Kmet, but there are instances where he's open, like this play that you've highlighted.
Yeah, this is where he chips and releases. This is the Goodwin play where I thought he could have gone to Goodwin for the first option and then Kmet here in the flat. But yeah, that's an option where, again, if you're not comfortable with Kmet or Goodwin on one-on-one on side, you can give it to Kmet here in the flat and go ahead and get rid of the football. The only thing I don't know about this play is what read is Kmet. Is he the second read in the play? Is he the third option in the play? And by the time he goes through his first and second reads, he probably doesn't have time, obviously, to go ahead and go find his third read. And now he's just looking to get out of there and probably try and make something happen. But again, he gets sacked. So. For me, like then that Goodwin play for me was his number one read, should have been number one read, and that's where he goes with the football. But again, Kmet was open in the flat. Was that not his second read? Was it even an option in his route progression? We don't know the play, but it just it's when you watch the tape and you see a guy wide open like that and him taking a sack, you're thinking, okay, why didn't he go here? Why didn't he even look his way? He didn't even look Kmet's way at all. So again, Kmet started that play by blocking. He chipped and then he released. So was that something that Kmet did on his own? So was he even a real option in the play? We don't know the in-depth intricacies of that play call.
But we've seen that earlier in some of the earlier clips and throughout the game that Kmet was getting open after his chip. And so you would think that as part of the adjustments that Nagy and the offensive coaches would say to Justin, hey, your tight end, number 85, he's getting open after those chips. So with this pass rush coming, look towards your middle safety, but then go to Cole Kmet after the chip because he's open there in the flat and he can create some yards after the catch.
Right, because after the H series, they go on and look at their iPads and they go through that Service Pro and they just kind of see what the play by play and say, hey, you know what, keep an eye here on in the flat because you could have a safety valve here in the flat if you don't like a look or something like that, but. Later on, we as the game progressed, initially when you were looking at tape, you're seeing him just holding on the ball. He wants a guy to come wide open. And again, he's going to have to adjust to that. Guys who look covered are open in the NFL. He's going to have to trust their ability, their talents. But later on, we'll see, he's starting to throw the ball to a Kmet with Jock all over him. Jock just makes a nice play, gets his hand around him, knocks the ball away. He starts getting the ball to A-Rob with a defender on top of him. A-Rob makes a nice catch. Goodwin, another time he's kind of gets out of the pocket, breaks in cane, throws the ball to Goodwin. Goodwin does not come back enough for the football on that route. That's a sideline route. I don't know if you guys remember that. I think it was like a 2nd and 9 or something like that. Goodwin does not come back far enough for the football. And the defender will be able to catch up to him and knocks the ball away. So hopefully these are just things that he's going to get better at with reps. The one thing we've seen with Justin Fields, guys, over his short beard career, the preseason, and some of these games here is when he makes a mistake once, he doesn't usually repeat it. So this is going to be a big time teaching moment for him. This tape here, and hopefully if he gets to start this week, that's something that the coaching staff will learn from. They'll make adjustments in terms of getting him out, getting him a little more comfortable away from pressure. And again, him now being able to 2 weeks of practice, get that timing, that rhythm down with his receivers, and now realize that, these are going to be a little more, much tighter windows than what they were at Ohio State. And he's just going to have to trust it and rip it and get the ball out there.
Yep. All right. This is another miss. And I got to tell you, Danny, this play, I was seated in a perfect position where I saw Darnell Mooney getting open. And I'm saying, get it to Mooney, get it to Mooney. Now, the play ended up being a big gain because of the pass interference call, but still, it would have been nicer if he would have made this decision. Take it away.
Yeah, again, just, contain, Bix contain because of the felt pressure get out there. And now it looks like he's kind of frozen the defense because he looks like he might run there, but then he just throws the ball up there to Allen Robinson. Gets a pass. The ball's actually picked off, and then they get a pretty lucky pass interference play there. But if you take a look at Mooney, I think you have him highlighted there in the slot.
That's correct.
As he's breaking the tackle box here, and he's going down, and he's in the middle of the field, wide open, no one around him. Obviously he's going that way, so you would think he's in his vision, in his sight vision there, in his line of vision. That's what I'm trying to say. But you could see him right there in the middle of the field, wide open. Just plant and throw the ball up to Mooney, and you probably have a touchdown there. At this point, I think it's just still a 1-score game, or if it might be about a 10-point game here. But that would have been a huge play, a big momentum booster. The defense now will feel energy. You guys are back in the game. Just like a big play, a big confidence builder as well for Justin Fields there. But I know the play result ended up being a pass interference, a first down, but it could have been a much bigger play. Of course, the Browns stopped them. The Browns stopped them and only gave up a field goal, so that could have been even a bigger play there if they went ahead and scored that touchdown. But yeah, it was just wide open all by himself. You would think he's looking that way. Could have seen him. Just uncharacteristic for him not to be able to see that kid wide open like that.
I want you to comment on what Laz is saying here. Would you like to see short crossing patterns, like these discrete picks? It seems to me like they don't call enough plays where receivers are going from one zone into another to get the quarterback,
right.
Beating zone coverage that way. What are your thoughts?
Right. I mean, and every NFL team now seems like they're running it every week. Every time you put it on, there's these what they call them pick plays, where another receiver runs a route, kind of gets in the way of the defender, and then the other receiver gets wide open, and it's easy conversion. So yeah, I mean, when they brought in a guy like Marquise Goodwin, the guys like Damian Byrd, even Daz Newsome when they drafted him, that's what I was envisioning. I was envisioning more quick hitting plays, getting the ball out of the quarterback's hands, especially because of the offensive line you guys are putting together here. You would think plays like that would be popular in this playbook. You just get them out there, get them in the hands of the playmakers, and see what they do, after the catch. But again, Matt Nagy we talked about earlier, he's a hard head. He's got these blinders on. He wants these long developing routes downfield. He wants to be able to hit those big plays. But dude, you got to be able to block them in order to get those big plays. We see here as some of these routes are developing. Yeah, that last one we saw, he missed a wide open receiver, but he needs time back there to be able for that route for those receivers get downfield, to get open and make these plays. So unfortunately, everything starts up front, and the offensive line is not giving him enough time to be able to get those plays downfield, the one he wants. You would think these quick hitting big plays, bubble screens, slip screens, even just a screen pass in this past game to kind of get, alleviate some of that pressure. Because like I said, the Browns had, they're putting their ears back. They were going after that quarterback. A screen might have, broken up a 10 or 20, 30 yard play there. Could have been a big, again, just building momentum, getting the offense rolling. But we never saw it. We never saw. I don't think I ever saw one screen pass in this game.
Well, there was one late in the fourth quarter.
Okay.
and right after the second half, watching the game with Dan Aguirre, it's like, it's like an atomic bomb is about to blow up, and he's like, "We're doomed. We'll never make it." And at one point, is why doesn't he do something different? What? And so I asked him, well, what should he call? And so he hesitated. And then I said, well, what about a screen pass, right? I mean, one of the first things I learned in watching football in the late 60s, early 70s is the announcer saying, yeah, the way you beat an intense pass rush is you throw a screen pass. So I've known it for decades now. Right. And they didn't do it until the fourth quarter. It's a joke, man.
I don't get it. That's the thing. It's like it's the in-game adjustments, right? You have your first 15 plays scripted. You run your first 15 plays, but as that game is developing, as you see your offensive line getting beaten inside, outside, your quarterback's getting hammered. Change, adjust, and I just don't see these in-game adjustments from this offensive coaching staff. I'm and the play caller specifically.
Yep. Chubbs is right, or call the draw. You're
Call the draw.
absolutely right. Hey, Danny, what are you doing Saturday night?
What am I doing Saturday night? I'm actually going to a birthday party.
Well, bring her along to Miller's Ale House at 4474 North Harlem. Dan Aguirre will be there. That's right. Dan is in Chicago for the Bears-Lions game. He arrives here in Arlington Heights Saturday around 5 or 6 o'clock. I will make sure he powders up his little private areas because he's going to meet his fans at Miller's Ale House, 4474 North Harlem Avenue in Norridge, Illinois. There's a nice little parking lot around, so parking shouldn't be a problem. There is outdoor seating, so we're going to try to land some seats outdoors. So it's an opportunity to meet Dan, and then if you can't meet him, but you are going out to the game, be there early because we will be there early, and so there will be an opportunity to meet Dan. I will post where we'll be on Sunday morning at the game on our @Barroom Network Twitter feed. So if you want to meet Dan and his golden pipes and his Bears jerseys, he owns like over 30 of them. I told him, make sure you wear a throwback. And he goes, well, which one? I've got so many of them. Like, dude. But I don't know if you listened to the Dan and Aldo show, Danny. We shared the story where he left his jersey, his brand new Justin Fields jersey, and a brand new Bears hoodie. He left it at the hotel. Oh. All week long, there's been this drama about getting those people to mail his stuff back to him. And I feel so sorry for Dan because he wants that stuff so badly. It's prized possessions, part of his collection, just bought it, not cheap. And finally, they promised today that it's in the mail, but we'll see. So,
that sucks.
Yeah, so we should all buy him a beer, slap him on the back, cheer him up, and so forth. And hopefully the Bears will be even better and deliver a victory because he is now 0 for 4 or 0 for 5. He's attended 5 games, and he's never seen a victory by the Chicago Bears. So, what are your thoughts, Danny? Go ahead, please.
I'm saying, like, is that a bad omen? Should we just, kind of, is that a precursor to what's going to happen with Dan attending the game that the Bears are going to probably end up losing?
I was thinking about putting a roofie in one of his drinks and just letting him sleep for the next 24 hours.
It might be an angry man. That's an angry big man going to be coming after you. So I don't know if you want to do that.
That's right. He is a huge man, 6'5", probably, I don't know, 260 to 70. But what are your thoughts about this upcoming game against the Lions?
To me right now, it's a must-win game to be like. I mean, if you lose the Lions at home, I think Matt Nagy, you're going to start feeling. If you already feel the heat, you're going to feel it's going to be even hotter in there. But this whole thing early, I don't even listen to Matt Nagy press conference anymore because it confused me. They get me upset, and I just plan to just not ignore them. But he comes out and he says that everything's on the table, that all 3 quarterbacks have an opportunity to start this game. I'm like, what are you talking about? If Justin Fields is healthy, why would you bench him for Nick Foles? But anyway, so I hopefully, like I said, I had a hunch that Bill Lazor is going to be calling the plays this week, and we'll know because we'll see what type of plays are called. We'll see if there's going to be some more roll out, getting him out of the pocket. Allowing him to be able to be an athlete outside the tackle box, getting away from pressure. We'll see what happens there. But for me, it's a must win for the Bears. And the Lions, they played the Ravens pretty tough and lost on that 66-yard field goal that bounced off the crossbar. But for me, it's they're going to come in here. The Lions are hungry for their first win. And if the Bears are not ready, or if they're still licking their chops from the loss here in Cleveland, there's a chance they could go down, and I think that would be a disaster if they start the season off 1-3, losing at home to the winless Lions. I think that's going to be a disaster, and I think that's why I think this is going to be a must win for the Bears. And I think they should win the way they're playing defensively. And you guys know I'm not a huge Jared Goff fan, so I think they should be able to supply pressure on Jared Goff and get him down. And just the only question is offensively, can you put up enough points to go ahead and secure the victory? So we'll see. But I'm hopeful. But I'm saying if they lose, it's going to be tough to recover, I think, from 1-3. But I don't know. What do you think, Aldo?
Well, before I give you my thoughts on that, I wanted to ask you, do you think that the Bears, if Justin Fields starts again, do you think that there's a chance that Matt Nagy could ruin Justin Fields either by the poor scheming and or the lack of protection that he is getting and perhaps shell shock the young man?
Well, for me, Justin Fields is, like I said, during the drafts coming up, the draft on tap and the whole draft season. For me, what I loved about the kid was this guy was a very confident guy. Never got too high, never got too low. I loved his demeanor. He's a guy that typically would learn from his mistakes and come back and use that as motivation where he had a bad game or bad pick or whatnot. So, like he's a very confident kid, and I think this is a guy that doesn't get rattled easily. So, could Matt Nagy ruin him in terms of killing his confidence and all that stuff? I don't think that would do it. The only thing we could ruin him, as you talked about there, shell shocked and getting him thinking about the pressure and not keeping his eyes downfield long enough, and maybe trying to tuck it and run. One thing about Fields I loved about him is even though he could outrun defensive ends and maybe use his feet to get first downs, he's a guy that once he breaks contain, he always looks downfield, like that play to A-Rob. He broke contain, but he wasn't looking to tuck it and run. He was looking to make a play downfield. Now, of course, he missed Mooney, who was wide open, but he got the ball downfield, A-Rob, drew a pass interference penalty, and it was a positive play. So he's always looking to make big plays down the field. So that's the thing is, like, I don't want him to get I don't want him to get David Carr, basically. David Carr got killed by that crappy offensive line with Houston Texans, and he was never the same quarterback after that. David Carr, first overall pick, in the draft. And I just don't want that to happen to him. In terms of confidence, in terms of his ability to be a playmaker, I think he's always going to have it. It's innate. He was born with it. I don't think Matt Nagy is going to break that part of him, but I just don't want him to get to the point where he's thinking about getting hit and getting out of there, getting happy feet and not going through a progression and missing open targets. Now we show a couple of clips here where he's missing open receivers. Could that have been the case? Could he now have been shell shocked in that first half where he was getting pummeled by the Browns and now he's not going to a full field progression and getting out of there quickly? That's what I'm concerned about. So that's why roll him out away from pressure. Use him as an athlete that he is. Don't make him just strictly a pocket passer. And I think Justin Fields can go ahead and shine then.
Yep. I got to give it to 4,000 Clovers. About an hour ago, he asked this question that he has resurfaced again. He is persistent. They should call him 4 million Clovers. What are Danny's thoughts on Eddie Jackson?
Eddie Jackson, man, he's I'm going to give it to you, although you were on him the last year and a half in terms of this guy, not being the safety that after that 2018 season after he got paid. And I'm starting to think now, like, before I gave him the benefit of doubt, I figured it was as a Chuck Pagano system that I think he was being utilized in a way that wasn't, kind of playing to his strengths and letting him be that free safety, that rover to be able to come up and make big plays. But Sean Desai was his coach when he was under Vic Fangio when he had that great season. So I think Desai's put him back there and allowed him to make plays. The unfortunate part for me with Eddie Jackson is just a tackling effort. That we saw that again in this game here, where Kareem Hunt breaks that first level of defense. Again, Deion Bush misses the initial tackle, and then he just tried to pop him with the shoulder. That doesn't come up and try to wrap him up and bring him down. Just gives us this lame little shoulder bump, and Hunt runs right through it and scores a touchdown. And that right there, up until that point, that was a one possession game, guys, and that was early on in the fourth quarter. Once Hunt scored that touchdown, that pretty much opened up the floodgates, and the game was over back from then on. But again, that play really disappoints me. And I kept thinking back to 2018 when we had Amos back there and we had Eddie Jackson, and when Amos left, we were like, oh, okay, at least we have Eddie Jackson. Who would have thought that, looking at it now, 2-3 years later, that Amos is probably the better safety of the two, if you think about it now, because Amos has gone to Green Bay and has actually gotten better.
Yes,
because he was known more here as a sure tackler in the open field, lacked the ability to make interceptions and plays on the ball in the defensive backfield. But he's going over to Green Bay now, and he's a leader back there. He's the guy that makes plays on the football. He's improved in coverage, and of course, he's a solid open field tackler. So I've given Eddie Jackson the benefit of the doubt. That first game was a disaster for him. He kind of played better in that second game versus the Bengals, but now, again, reverts back, and that missed tackle really was just kind of pissed me off towards the end there. But he's got to improve. He's got to get better. I think the interceptions all of a sudden are gone now. He's not making plays on the football anymore. So if he's not going to do that and he's not going to tackle, what do we got back there?
A waste of money.
That's what it looks like right now, unfortunately. And I'm a big Eddie Jackson fan. I loved him come out of Alabama as well.
Yeah, I'm a fan of his too, but it clearly, you got to, particularly with the defense that Desai wants to run, you've got to be able to play in the box and the center field position, and so. And you got to tackle. All 11 guys on the field have to be able to tackle. And the one complaint I heard about Eddie Goldman when he was at Alabama is that he didn't tackle, primarily because he was playing that center field position and they had 10 other guys who were fantastic defensive players, particularly in compared to the opponents that they had. So Eddie just kind of didn't have to worry too much about tackling. Just go get the ball. And so you can't play that way in the NFL. You just can't do it. And
especially if you're not getting turnovers, you're not getting interceptions, you're not jumping routes anymore, you're not as successful as you were in 2018 where you're a Pro Bowler. If you're not going to tackle, you got to at least make cost turnovers, get your hands on the football. And he's not even doing that. And that's where it's really disappointing. Like you said, he's back in the scheme that he was successful in with Vic Fangio under Sean Desai. And I'm not seeing those big plays yet. Now, will it happen? I'm hoping it happens. Like I said, I'm a big fan of the kid. Love him to come out of Alabama. But you're right. He wasn't known for being the run stuffing, the safety coming down from the defensive backfield. It was more of the ball hawk that we saw in the early parts of his career, jumping routes, being able to pick the ball off and take it back for interception, for pick sixes. So, that's stopped, and he's going to have to start making some of these plays now if he wants to, regain some of that glory he had, previously.
Mm-hmm. Now, one of the last things I want to just mention before we get out of here is I am really, really impressed with Sean Desai. You mentioned it at the top of the show, and I just would like to finish the show. We were all very hasty to kind of say, hey, maybe this guy doesn't have it or this guy doesn't have it. And it's beginning to look like he does have it. This guy is smart, and he's got some leadership skills, and I like him. And we saw what happened with Brandon Staley. He was a linebackers coach here with the Chicago Bears. He went with Vic Fangio, and then he as a assistant coach, and then he went to the Rams, became the defensive coordinator, and now he's the head coach of the Chargers, who just beat the Chiefs, by the way.
Right.
So let's keep an eye on a Sean Desai, because he might be in the same career path.
Right. And he's a guy that right away, what struck my curiosity about him was I had never heard of him before. I know he was a defensive back coach here, and all of a sudden Vic Fangio wanted to take him with the Broncos, and the Bears blocked him. That tells me that Vic Fangio wants you. You're a damn good coach. Right. And now, seeing him here, given this opportunity, and like I talked about earlier, I like what he's doing up front with the front seven guys. He's showing those two players in the A gap, mugging the A gap, and the guys are thinking, all right, are they blitzing? Are they not blitzing? And then he's dropping one back. He's bringing another one on delay blitz. He's playing those stunts, those loops up front with the defensive guys. I love the fact that he's got Mack and Quinn on the same side on a couple of these pass rushing situations. He's being creative up front. He's utilizing his talent up front, and that's what a coach is supposed to do. You're supposed to take your players and play them at their strengths and make them shine. And I think that's what he's doing now with these players. So I love what he's done so far. Now the run defense, and I know the Bears are getting criticized for giving up 200 some yards to the Browns, but you got to understand, we talked about earlier, it was a one score game going to the fourth quarter, and then I think that the Bears defense just kind of wore down at the end. I mean, obviously they're missing Eddie Goldman in the middle there. I think once they get Eddie Goldman back there, along with Hicks and Nichols and Blacks, I'm very impressed with as well. Throw in Mario Edwards now here as well. I think that's going to help shore up that run defense as well. So and I think that's where it's going to be solid there. So if you solidify the run defense, your pass rush looks good so far. I think that's where the Bears are on an uphill climb. And the corners, I know they got beat a couple times in this game. I think a couple back shoulder throws. There were a couple penalties that were, for me at least, were a little bit ticky-tack. But I think Vildor and Jalen Johnson are developing nicely. Now, of course, corners are going to look good when your front four is providing pressure and getting sacks. So that's a good thing as well. So they all kind of work. That's what it's a team. It's a unit, right? So they all work hand in hand. Though, but I think that's also going to help the young corners get better as well. Now, if we can just shore up our safeties, make sure they could tackle and get into coverage and positions when needed, I think this defense and then just kind of continue to get better and better and better.
Yeah, and it is important to note that without Gibson at one of the safety positions this week, Bush played pretty well. It was encouraging.
In coverage, he played pretty well. There was that play with OBJ where he got turned around, and he was the first guy to miss Kareem Hunt on that touchdown as well. So there were some areas where Deion Bush kind of shined in some areas also. He made a great play in coverage. I think it was in the first quarter, might have been the first drive where he broke on a play and broke it up. Broke on a pass and broke it up. So I think his strength's going to be in coverage as well. But yeah, I mean, guys, I like DeAndre Houston Carson. I've liked him since he came out of William and Mary, and I think if this guy given an opportunity, could play some safety as well for the Bears. But at least we're seeing him now more and more involved in the nickel defense. And the one thing you notice about Desai as well, his base is the nickel defense, where he's playing a 4-2-5, where he's got basically 40 down linemen, 2 linebackers, and 5 defensive backs playing in the backfield. So that's another little bit of a scheme change there from what Fangio was doing.
Very good.
Not Fangio, sorry, Pagano.
I want to thank Taureen Whitfield, Richard Davis, Chubbs, Hugh Evans, I Am Scocks, Laz, AC Adam, King Pookie Nation Alvarez, and so many other people who joined us in the chat and interacted and provided great comments. And just a last one here from Kelly Jordan. Do you think he is pressing and not pulling the trigger because he doesn't want to make a mistake? Almost like he wants to prove himself just so bad he can't focus. I think Kelly is talking about Justin Fields.
Yeah. I thought about that, Kelly, and that's a good point because it just seemed like there are times where he had guys open and you could see he was trying to pull a trigger, but just something stopped him. Whether it's he's scared to make a mistake, whether he's just not sure, or, whether he wants to see a guy fully come open or whatnot. But yeah, that's something that definitely he has got to work on. And like I said, Justin Fields is a guy that will take this as a learning, teaching moment. And he said something after the game that I really appreciate about him. He said, "I'm just going to go in and work hard again because I know this is not this is not the feeling I want to have. This is not the showing I want to show." So I mean, there's no doubt in my mind the kid's going to go in there and work hard. And so far, what I've seen from him is once he makes a mistake, he doesn't do it the second time. So let's see how he comes out versus the Lions. But again, needs help. He needs help up front with his blockers. He needs help with his receivers, and he sure needs help in terms of the play calling and the scheme as well. So hopefully he gets all that this week, and the Bears come out with a victory. And next week we're breaking down some happy tape, and we're showing some Justin Fields passes down the field for completions and touchdowns.
I can't wait. I can't wait for Sunday's game, and I can't wait to the next time Danny and I get to break down the tape. It's always a pleasure working with you, Danny. You know your stuff. You present it so well, and I really appreciate all the hard work. I know things are already busy enough being a dad and having your job and blah, 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 all these other things. So really appreciate all the work that you put into it. Any final thoughts before we get out of here?
No, just hopefully I can make it out to that bar and meet Dan on Saturday night. But do take some good pictures and let's have some juicy stories for next week. We can discuss.
Oh, you can count on it. All right. I know there's more comments coming in, but we got to get out of here. We'll hopefully reach out to you later this week. Don't forget the next Bears Bar podcast is Sunday morning, the Barfly Tailgate Show. Danny, you had a thought?
I had a question for you. How do you feel about the Bears being your neighbors now?
Well, you know what? I kind of like it, to be honest with you. If they do it right, first of all, I don't want my taxes to go up. I would like my taxes to go down. Secondly, I would love the local businesses to reap in the fortune of having, they're losing the racetrack. And so local businesses are going to be hurting because of that. But if you replace it with a stadium, a state-of-the-art stadium that is going to host big events, plus 10, 11 Bears games a year, that would be great for the local community here. And I wouldn't mind, taking a nice long walk to get to the stadium and back. Yeah, that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, and I can come park at your house, and we can all walk together to the game.
That's right. I'll wait $50 fee for you.
Yeah, have we heard? Is it going to be hopefully it's going to be a dome stadium, right? It's going to be either retractable or a dome stadium.
Yeah, it's still there's still a lot of details to work out. This whole deal could be squashed by the Arlington Heights city government. I mean, it still has to go through that process. The
Gotcha.
Bears have basically signed a purchase agreement, but now the city government has to look at it and they have to see, okay, what are you planning on doing with this racetrack? You know, how's that going to impact traffic and blah, blah. They're going to ask all sorts of tough questions, and hopefully the Bears will have the right answers. I do know this, that Mayor Lightfoot really ruined it for Chicago to continue to be the home of the Bears. It's highly unlikely they're going to stay at Soldier Field. She's just terrible at that part of her job, and I think other people would say at every part of her job. Right. But that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying other people.
I'm saying it, but anyway, my biggest hope is that if the deal goes through and that there is a dome, because now you can attract Super Bowls, Final Fours, conventions, concerts, everything, and I think that would be a big boon for Arlington Heights and the state of Illinois.
Right,
and the Bears too.
I just got a message from Dan Aguirre, who never watches our shows because he's always working. He's the busiest man in West Virginia, but he just sent me a message saying, darn it, 90% chance of rain on Sunday for the game. Do you think that's going to make a difference if it's a rainy game and lots of water? Does it favor any one of the two teams, given that the Lions are a dome team? Maybe it favors the Bears?
It could favor the Bears, but the one thing we didn't touch on in this show, and it's something that I touch on weekly, is again, Montgomery only got 10 carries. We've said multiple times it was a one-score game getting into that fourth quarter. Why Montgomery was only had 10 carries into that play? First drive he had a run, I think like a 16-yard run or 15-yard run, looked pretty good. That's what I would do if it's raining, it's bad conditions, and especially if you're going to start Justin Fields, I'll pound the ball with Montgomery and see what happens there, and just rely on your defense and the run game. But we know Matt Nagy's not going to do it. If he's going to start throwing the ball with a rookie, getting sacked 9 times in his first NFL start on the road, and not utilize David Montgomery, I don't think he's going to utilize him here at home.
Laz wants to know if you see an expansion team coming to Chicago, maybe playing at Soldier Field and the Bears at Arlington Heights.
That'd be interesting. Do you think Chicago could handle a two football team?
I'm positive they could. We had it with the Cardinals and Bears years ago. There's other big cities that have multiple teams. I can't see why Chicago wouldn't have it. And I just want, if Chicago does attract another team, I want it to be much better than in ownership than the Chicago Bears.
Well, that's the one. The positive is I to answer your question, I hope they would attract another team, because that would put them pressure on the McCaskies, saying, you know what, we need to improve our product because we're not the only game in town anymore. So, but the thing is, that the McCaskies are not going to ever allow that, and the NFL owners, they all owe each other favors, and they're going to probably veto it and all that stuff. So that's why I just don't know if that'll go through.
Great point. All right, we're out of here. Don't forget the Barfly Tailgate Show Sunday morning, and Bear football after the game. Although we got a little bit of a problem with Bear football after the game, because I'm going to be at the game, and so there's nobody to direct the show. So we're working out some details. We'll keep you posted on our Twitter feed at Barroom Network. Don't forget to follow Danny on his Twitter feed at DShimon56. During the course of the game, he is tweeting all sorts of things and just providing scouting lessons and comments on the game and so forth. So he's an excellent follow. Follow Danny Shimon at DShimon56. All right, Danny, take care, brother.
Thank you. Good night.